Hello and welcome to our roundup of the European Parliament's latest plenary session here in Strasbourg. The main focus, a blueprint for a new migration policy outlined in the annual State of the Union address by Commission President Jean-Claude Juncker. There was also a crucial vote to ban the animal cloning industry in the EU, which will hugely impact farming and consumers alike. We begin, though, with the refugee crisis' growing impact on the State of the Union. Wave after wave of refugees, many from Syria, but also Afghanistan and Africa. Futile attempts by Hungary in particular to turn them back. Then the new open-door policy led by Germany to ease the suffering. Now leaders want a concrete quota system allocating refugees throughout the EU, taking pressure off of Italy and Greece, the first EU ports of entry for many. But loud resistance, particularly from governments in Slovakia and Hungary, who strongly oppose a quota system, has left Europe looking disjointed and, at times and places, heartless. Commission President Jean-Claude Juncker spoke of Europe as an historic haven for migrants fleeing oppression.
We Europeans should know and should never forget why giving refuge and complying with the fundamental right to asylum is so important. It is Europe today that represents a place of hope, a haven of stability in the eyes of women and men in the Middle East and in Africa.
Juncker's plan calls to relocate 160,000 people in danger more evenly throughout the EU member states. It also calls for making return policy more effective for so-called economic migrants, as well as tackling the external roots of the refugee crisis in the Middle East and Africa. EPP Group Chairman Manfred Weber was sharply critical of some EU member states.
Was hier versagt, ist nicht Europa. Das sehen wir auch aufgrund der Vorschläge der Kommission. Es versagt nicht Brüssel, es versagt nicht Straßburg, sondern es versagt der nationale Egoismus auf diesem Kontinent.
Parliament also approved provisional emergency relocation measures offering financial relief to Italy and Greece. Both have been overwhelmed by tens of thousands of irregular migrants, refugees, since the beginning of this year. That relief amounted to around 240 million euros, or 6,000 euros per refugee when it was calculated in May. Since then, the number has risen dramatically to 160,000 refugees, and according to the UN, could rise to over 850,000 by 2016. The budget is set to rise accordingly and includes relief for Hungary. The State of the Union also addressed other crucial issues, perhaps none more pressing than providing dignified future working prospects to Europe's young people, many of whom have no job. President Juncker made it clear that his administration viewed tackling stubborn unemployment, particularly youth unemployment, a top priority. Over 23 million EU citizens are still unemployed, more than half of those without a job for a year or more. The crisis, he said, is by no means over.
La crise sera terminée le jour où l'Europe sera revenue au plein emploi. Parfois, je me demande pourquoi un continent aussi riche que l'Europe prendrait ses distances par rapport à cette règle normale qui devrait être respectée partout. Les hommes et les femmes, les jeunes d'aujourd'hui et les adultes de demain ont droit au plein emploi.
Manfred Weber summed up the recovering climate for workers in the first year of the Juncker presidency.
Sie haben es geschafft, dass wir im politischen Ansatz vorankommen und vor allem Ergebnisse erzielen. Die schönste Zahl ist, dass in dem letzten Jahr 1,65 Millionen neue Arbeitsplätze auf diesem Kontinent entstanden sind. Und das ist auch verbunden mit der Arbeit der europäischen Ebene. Herzlichen Dank.
This week also saw Parliament ban the cloning of all farm animals, their descendants, and products and imports derived from them. Some surveys suggest that nearly 80% of EU citizens were for such a ban. Parliament overwhelmingly passed the measure, citing the adverse effect on animal welfare and major ethical concerns. Up to 90% mortality rates in animals occurring at all development stages of cloning was also a key reason. The new regulation, which still needs member state approval, would apply directly in all the EU member states and covers all animals kept and reproduced for farming purposes. EPP Group member Renate Sommer, Environment Committee co-rapporteur, said it was about more than just animal welfare concerns.
This technique, this cloning technique, if it should function sometime, would be transferred to human beings too. And this is what we are afraid of and what our citizens are afraid of.
Animal clones currently need a pre-market approval based on a scientific food safety assessment by the European Food Safety Authority before it can be put on the market. Lobbying was fierce to water down the absolute ban, but Sommer said the result was the right one.
A big business has to step back behind our ethical concerns. And you cannot sell ethics. We have a responsibility as politicians, and we need to set limits. And that's what we did today.
That's it for this plenary session. You can find out more about the largest force in Parliament by going to eppgroup.eu. Thanks for looking in.